This is the Final Word Ashes Daily, day 2 of the third test match at Leeds, at Headingley. Jeff Lemon and Adam Collins. The show brought to you by Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City. And Adam, I mean, day 2, it seems like it's been going on a lot longer than this. It's been full of everything, but you have to do the day full of incident in 30 seconds.
England lose Joe Root in the first over after the resumption. Hammer blow there, 68 for 4. They lose Bairstow shortly thereafter. An inexplicable waft. Then Mo and Ali, who falls in the leg side trap. Chris Wake's on the cusp of lunch. They're at 7 for 142. Really in the hole, 121 behind. Then they hit 95 runs in 62 balls, turn the whole test match around thanks to Mark Wood and Ben Stokes, who makes 80 in beast mode. Australia come out to bat, lose Warner straight away. They get to tea at that juncture. They lose 3 wickets in the final session, including the huge one of Usman Khawaja after 2 poor shots from Labus and Smith in the space of a couple of overs, bringing up Mo and Ali's 200th test wicket in the process. They're 4 for 116 at the close. They're ahead by 142.
They are. All of that is true. An inexplicable waft. It sounds like a nappy changing experience. There it goes. It was a bit like that.
I think most of the things I said then were accurate.
Yeah, I was listening and I was watching, and my recollections tallied with what you said, so I'm pretty confident. It was, I mean, so much comes down to that second ball of the day, right? Overnight, they're 3 for 68, 68 for 3, and you've got the 2 Yorkshiremen coming out. You've got Bairstow and Root, and everybody's going, well, maybe they'll just bunker down and bat all day. You know, so much was that the feeling that I think Emma John wrote an entire sidebar on what should have happened today. It's because so strong was the feeling that that's how it should have gone. And instead, Pat Cummins is like, no, thank you. I'm not going to have that happen. He'd already taken 2 last night, and he just so often bowls this perfect delivery that angles in, it seems away a little bit. It's got Joe Root out so many times, like 10 times in 17 tests out that Cummins has got Root. It's not in Broad Warner territory, don't worry, we'll come back to that later. But just an exceptional piece of bowling, feathers the edge, and he's gone second ball of the day. Yeah,
that's well put. It's a nice little shape through the air, then the movement off the seam as well, and nicely taken in the cordon by Warner, who immediately gestured to the captain saying, that was moving in the air, and it was. You saw the replay, the ball was swinging after it hit the edge, so he did well to keep his feet when he was losing balance at one stage.
Well, he does a little Cossack dance. He puts his sort of shin out. You can't see that because it's not on the camera, but it has to dip down to it. But the way he was gesticulating, it was like, at the time I described it as being like a Roberto Carlos free kick. Is the way that he was trying to tell us that it was moving. It did dip on him though, because he was quite deep set.
He's got form here. He took 4 catches in an innings here at first slip 4 years ago, and the people behind are streaming out to the Kirkstall Lane end, the famous Kirkstall Lane end. They were silenced when Bairstow was caught at second slip by Smith, one of his 5 catches. That's Hall of Fame worthy. We'll come back to that achievement later on. And then Mo and Ali mentioned in the summary getting caught in the trap, like the ball before, he played the same shot in the same place. And they
and I can't get out.
And he couldn't get out, much as it was the day before.
Because I love the hook shot too much, baby.
With Brooke, who couldn't resist, and Bairstow couldn't resist, and Moeen couldn't resist. There's a bit of a recurring theme here with the Baz ballers, if you like. And Moeen had put a shift into that point as well. And Moeen's day's a great one, that achievement of 200 test wickets, and it's so important getting Labus and Smith. I don't want to get the boots in or anything, but it did feel at 142 for 7 at lunch, and noting that Bairstow, they needed him today. Again, he was focused on everything but that. Like, you could see him sort of grimacing and growling and pointing to the sight screen early on. He gives Smith a send-off later on as well. Like, his head's still in what happened at Lord's last week. He put another catch down today as well. I know he batted in a wonderful fashion on the opening day of the series, but it's been diminishing returns thereafter for Bairstow, with the gloves and with the bat.
He fumbled so many today. I mean, so many just routine takes, and he took a couple of good ones and a couple of other ones got away from him, but short balls going over, that sort of thing. Just routine stuff behind the stumps. And I do wonder how much quality testing they did with his injury as to whether he could keep against proper high-quality fast bowling. Can he keep to Mark Wood? Who would know? Mark Wood hasn't bowled in 6 months. So it seems like an oversight, and it's a corner that they painted themselves into, because if they pick a proper keeper from now on and take the gloves off him, then that will be seen as an insult or a slight. But he's causing them more problems, and he's not making enough runs to make up for it. And frankly, he'd have to be making hundreds every game like he was last year to say that made up for. He keeps dropping players who keep making heaps of runs against them.
And how valuable a player like Folks could have been with the bat today to take it, to take some pressure, absorb some pressure, as we know he does pretty well. Anyway, that's all in the absence of the counterfactual, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Two things here. One is that, so Bairstow playing that shot wasn't a problem. He just played the shot badly. He gets a wide ball from Mitchell Starc, and you're allowed to play a shot at that if you want to.
I don't know about that. Not at that point of the game. He's got to be leaving that.
But it's how he goes about it. He doesn't move his feet at all. He just slashes from rooted to the crease, Bairstow to the crease, and his hands are reaching for it so wide that he's got no control over it whatsoever. So yeah, if he got a stride into that, maybe he hits it. Maybe he nails it for 4, and he's playing positively and all the rest of it. So I think there's a difference between if you're getting out playing a positive shot and you've played it well and it hasn't quite worked out, then that's one thing. But if you're playing the shot badly, that's another thing.
Yeah,
and that's Mo and Ali as well.
I would come at it the other way, that like at that particular point, it's kind of like the conversation we had last week. There are points of a test match where you need to soak up all the pressure, and that. Again, I just don't think Bairstow at this point of his career is well suited to that, which is weird because 12 months ago here, that's exactly what he did against New Zealand. I know that he batted quickly there, but there was a cauldron. I mean, New Zealand were on fire, Bolt was swinging it around corners, and he found a way to get through that awkward passage, that dynamic first spell, and see off Bolt and then make the most of it later. Here, it was Stark's second ball of the day or something like that. I mean, you've got to try and let the game find a rhythm, and he wasn't willing to do that. And Mo and Ali, you were about to discuss this, but right near lunch too.
Yeah, and that he plays that shot, the ball before, it lands in exactly that spot. Steve Smith puts himself in the spot, and Moen plays the same shot again. I mean, what's the point? What are you trying to achieve when they've got, say, 7 out, waiting for a catch, waiting for a hook? And you're like, oh, well, I might just play the hook shot then. And Chris Woakes does the same thing, and Chris Woakes was spooked. He came out and nailed a 6, but he didn't want to be there.
Got hit.
He didn't want to be facing short bowling, and he was backing away outside leg and trying to heave them away, and he top edges one through to the keeper, and that's the over that Lunch is called early because he's out from the first ball. And they're in all sorts at that point. Yeah,
one of many players has been hit through the last 2 or 3 weeks as well. Yeah. And after Lunch, it's a bit different because I suppose they would have talked about it and realised that walking in at 9 is Wood, who has shown in the past an ability to bat technically correctly, but it works far better when, like he did at Port Elizabeth a couple of years ago, he really goes for it. It seems to work more than it doesn't for him when he's seeing the ball well, and so it was today. Hitting 24 in, well, it was 8 balls, so his innings only spanned 2 overs, interestingly, on the scorecard. But the way he set a light under them, what a bizarre over. Wicket before lunch, so they returned from lunch with Stark bowling, 6-4.6.
It was 1 for 18 off the over.
No, sorry, it was 6-4-6 to start, my apologies. And 18 from the over with a wicket coming as well. And that just gave, I think, the crowd something to believe in again. I mentioned before that they were silent after Bairstow getting out. And again, when Mo and Ali got out, there was kind of a sense that, if Moeen's gone after getting in and getting a start, then we're in all sorts. It was their slowest session by way of run rate since Bazball started. Right. So again, they're in a different gear altogether than Wood's able to turbocharge them and give them the belief. And when he falls, I mean, I can't remember what the deficit was at that point, but it might even be double digits. And that's when Stokes goes, right, my turn to do what I can do, batting with the tail. And the next 8 overs, when he doesn't have Wood with him, is a brilliant exchange, because I thought Murphy bowled pretty well through that in context, and Stokes still hit him for 4 sixes.
Well, 4 of Stokes' 5 sixes come off Murphy over the leg side for the most part, but it's the way that he's finding the boundary before he starts hitting the 6s as well. There's this incredible thing with Stokes, because he was really battling out there. He's already got the knee thing. He did something with his glutes.
We think of right glutes.
Yeah, so that was sore. He was having the physio prod him in the butt, which is, it's uncomfortable when you're sort of getting a proctological exam in the middle of a test match in the middle of the field. But he looks so awkward. He sort of creaks up and down the pitch. He's all over the place. And then he just flicks a switch in the way that he sometimes does. And he's like, oh, I'll just hit a boundary there, and then there, and then there. Like, they've got boundary riders out. He's splitting. Okay, you've got a deep backward point and a deep third. I'll just play the late cut directly in between them. I'll just glance this one for 4, and then I'll go through mid-wicket and split those 2. Yeah. Like, it's remarkable how cleanly he can find the boundary when he suddenly decides it's time to do it.
Yeah, and he's 360 as well, and you're like, Oprah Winfrey, you get a car, every boundary, you get a boundary, you get a boundary. It's the way that he can manipulate the field, and I think, to Cummins' credit, he realised what was going on pretty quickly and adjusted the field. I know they were already going the bouncer attack, so they already had 5 back, but 5 became 9, or 8 or 9 within moments, and he was batting briefly, albeit they might have put on Broad here and Broad 20 or something like that. Broad hit 1 boundary, which got the crowd fired up as well, but they were able to manipulate the strike well, and it was quite instructive, I thought, that they didn't always bring the field in for the last 2 balls of the over. They were quite worried about Stokes hitting 2 sixes from the last 2 balls of the over, so they kept the field back. Occasionally they played the milk to strike game when they had, I think when they were using seam from our end, the Kirkstall Lane end, but with Murphy they were actually keen to protect the boundaries a little bit more, and they bowled a lot of slower balls, and eventually he did give chances. You know, Murphy put him down with the second ball with a spell. We had Stark nearly reaching a dive, running in off the long off rope, and finally one stuck for Steve Smith, and that was that. But Stokes 80, and for a while there, with a deficit of 26 for England, I thought he's going to push them into the black and get another Ashes 100. It felt like it was foretold. It was against the flow of play when he got out.
Steve Smith's catching I'll come back to in the Hall of Fame, because there's a fair bit to do there. But yeah, so they're 26 behind, and then it's Warner and it's Broad again. It's a good delivery from a pitch with some life in it. Edges it into the cordon. Crawley takes a good catch 17 times now, Broad and Warner. So they're stalking Atherton McGrath, which is the most prolific dismissal combination in the history of the game, 19.
Yep. I'll just say that this wasn't 2019 Broad, Warner. This twice in the match he's got good deliveries with the new ball that have been edged and found their way to second slip. Like, this doesn't feel like Warner can't touch the ball, can't get his bat down in time. You know, it was leg before and bowled quite a lot in 2019. Yeah, so I don't think we're at the point where it should be, well, Warner's got to go. Let's remember he made a really important half century.
Sure, that's what the conversation will be back home.
I am too, but I want to temper that by saying it's an occupational hazard for an opener to nick a couple of good ones from someone who's got their tail up, you know, running downhill and all the rest of it. That just happens, and that's part of the game. So yeah. I don't want to sort of interrogate that too much.
No, it's just interesting that, I mean, like, he can play as well as he did at Lords and really make a contribution. Yeah. But for a lot of people, if you're not making 100, that means you failed.
Sure.
And that's it. That's the end of it. So he doesn't have that big score to be able to point to. And then that weird passage where Labuschagne and Smith both get out to Moeen Ali. Pretty innocuous stuffs. Labuschagne plays that straight sweep and sort of top edges it and gets caught out at deep mid-wicket. Smith just chips one away for 2, and he's gone as well. There's that archie-bargee with Bairstow, but whatever. That was not very inventive or clever stuff. And then, you know, it's down to Khawaja to soak up pressure again.
Yeah, I want to go back to the 2 dismissals. So Labuschagne is clearly frustrated at the fact that he keeps getting starts in this series but can't go on with it. Back to the World Test Championship final as well. He got a couple of starts there. So to do what he needed to do, this was a hard graft against Wood again, bowling. You know, maybe not quite as quickly as he did yesterday, but it was no less menacing. Field set for the short ball quite a lot of the time. He gets through that to tee and actually starts scoring more enthusiastically after the short break, only to, when he gets to 33, play a premeditated sweep shot. You could tell by the way he left the field that he was distraught with himself. And Smith felt like it was premeditation to an extent as well. He played the same shot of Moeen 2 balls before it, coming down the track trying to flick with the spin, which is fine, but it did feel to me, and maybe I'm misreading this, but he was playing to a plan that was fraught with danger with 2 catching mid-wickets, and he put it down the throat of Ben Duckett from the very bottom of his bat. Then he gets the Bairstow send-off, which, you know, whatever, Johnny, do what you need to do. Smith has a few words back to him, but yeah, Smith missing out in both innings in his 100th Test match. Moeen reaches 200 Test wickets. What a great story. Let's just zoom out from this. 4 weeks ago, not even, he got a text on a Sunday night from Ben Stokes saying Ashes ? A few weeks on, he's bowling one of the decisive spells on a packed Friday afternoon at Headingley to move to 200 Test wickets when he never thought that was possible, having retired.
The 2 best players
extracting
in
the 2 best players in the Australian team on paper at least, even though Khawaja feels more important than the other 2 at the moment, but, you know, historically. And so it goes. And, you know, Labuschagne has been ranked the #1 player in the world and was a bit of a ton machine.
Until about 3 months ago.
For a while there. Well, I think even in this series he started as #1, but 100 away from home. He's got 150, I think, in his last 21 Test innings or something like that. He has had diminishing returns for a time now, and I'm not saying his spot's in jeopardy, but that's where today's more frustrating for him.
Khawaja has gone past 900 balls faced for the series. He makes 43 off 96. Again, just soaks up the pressure. Again, deals with the Mark Wood spells, all the rest of it. Eventually feathers one behind for 43. And then you have Travis Head and Mitchell Marsh doing what they did in the first innings, bunkering down. They made it through to the close, put on 26 together. So Australia 142 ahead. And again, it's just beautifully balanced. It feels like every night of this series we've had a well-balanced Test match.
Yeah, every time one side looks like they're going to pull away. And that was Australia at lunch today. You know, Australia were probably a session away from closing out the series. And
if Zimbabwe were playing, they'd be in pull away.
10.2 overs, those 62 balls have completely turned this Test match on its head. Not just because of the nature of the deficit, but England will believe they can chase anything. I have no idea what CricViz says or WinViz says, but I know that England, I can tell they believe that they can, and this is a good chasing ground. Worcestershire and Leicestershire chased big scores here in the fourth innings this year. We saw it last year here with England. We saw it a couple of years ago with the West Indies. For whatever reason, chasing at Leeds is a good thing. Of course, England in 2019 against Australia, let's not forget that chase of 358 or whatever it was.
And it's likely to be a day 4 chase as well, because there'll be some rain on day 3, but the rate this game's gone, it's in the 3rd innings already. They should still be done in 4 days.
A few other bits and bobs. Stokes reached 6,000 test runs today, and he's 3 wickets away from reaching his 200th there, so that's significant.
Not going to bowl for a while.
Albeit with the lowest average of those to make 6,000, but we all know that doesn't actually matter with him. Mark Wood's fielding when he had Head and Khawaja out in the middle, and there was the last ball of the over, and they were desperate to keep Head on strike, and the way that he galloped over to turn a 2 into a 1 when he was bowling after being face first on the ground. Test cricket's better when Mark Wood's playing, full stop. But that's a little 1%er to give himself 2 more balls at Travis Head, which kind of sums up the cricketer to me.
Let's go to the final word, Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame, where we pick our favourite moments of the day, brought to you by Westfield London, Westfield Stratford City. Adam?
Well, this is the time to be competitive. It's the middle of the Ashes. And you can do that in so many different ways. You can play beer pong, you can play ping pong, you can hit dingers at the Rap Shack. The Rap Shack is an old kebab shop in Swan Street in Richmond.
You can't do it there.
Where it had Mark Graham, Hawthorn's player signature, who'd signed at Mark Graham 34 HFC. When he went to play for Richmond for 1 year, someone scribbled out the H and put RFC. So that was the Rap Shack. It's not called that.
You
the
probably
Putt Shack.
can't. You can maybe buy dingers there, but you probably can't hit them.
Quite. You can go to the Putt Shack and compete. And in other ways, you can go to Sixes, which we've been to, and hit some balls, Jeff. I've got some footage of Jeff hitting some bombs the other week.
Smoking them through extra cover.
So this is what you want to do. Get the competitive juices flowing. Westfield London, Westfield Stratford City, more extra, less ordinary. Great to be in association with them.
So, Hall of Fame, I mean, I did like Labuschagne's post-dismissal bit. He did the Nathan Lyon, sink to your haunches, you know, which generally you reserve that for when you've lost the test match. That's why Nathan Lyon gets to do it all the time. Labuschagne's doing it at 2 down in the 3rd innings.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to sink down and look at the turf because I can't believe I'm out and I have to walk off and I won't be allowed to bat here again. Yeah, that's how the game works, Smartus.
Stats. Both of them hit 20 Ashes sixes. Ben Stokes has hit 14 Ashes sixes in the last 5 days, which I thought was quite neat. Sam Jordan from 9, what a legend, getting on the roof. I'm sure we all saw it on camera. Is the 9 correspondent over here working on the Ashes, climbed on the roof, right on top of the apex and did an interview with one of the blokes that was up there yesterday, which I thought was absolute gold. Well done, Slam and Sam. Steve Smith. Oh, actually, no. Canberra Raiders. You do Steve Smith. I'll do the Canberra Raiders thing. The Canberra Raiders celebration at the try corner today, where they had a Yorkshireman playing for them who pretended to be facing up. The ball was bowled over the top and he was run out the way that, or Stumps rather, the way that Carey stumped Bairstow last week.
Using the corner flag as the Stumps.
Chef's kiss there.
Wonder how many times they practiced that at training during the week. Now, Steve Smith with 5 catches today. So that's the record. A bunch of players share that record, including Steve Smith, who took 5 catches in an innings previously in his career.
Do you know where and when?
Yes, I do. Cape Town 2018.
Something happened the next day.
Yeah, something happened the next day. Wasn't so good. Wasn't so hot after that, but he was feeling pretty good after the 5 catches. Maybe he'll feel a bit better this week when everyone was reminding him about Cape Town 2018 over the fence. So that's the record. No one's done 6, but 13 different instances of players doing 5. Smith adds a 14th instance today. But what I liked about it was that he did the controlling the field thing again with Cummins. Cummins was like, I'm busy bowling bouncers, you figure it out. And Smith got to do the follow the field thing like he did in indoor, where he was like, I reckon we need someone here, I reckon we need someone there. Pops himself out for the Moeen catch. So he's taken 2 at slip, then he puts himself out halfway back at long leg, that's kind of a short long leg, takes the 3rd catch there, leaves himself out at deep fine but further around for the broad one because he knows a broad top edge is likely to fly further, comes around and takes that diving catch, and then he's at long on when Ben Stokes miscues Murphy down the ground. So he read the play beautifully, and every time there was a ball in the air, seemingly, Smith came up catching
Still played his role in his 100th test despite getting out cheaply today. That's us done.
Record Ashes catches. Smith has equalled Botham's record for 54 Ashes catches. He's gone past Brian Lara into 10th spot on the all-time list with 165.
Overtook AB for Ashes catches as well today. Something like that. He was a busy boy in the field. If you really like what we do, patreon.com/thefinalword. You can do also all sorts of nice things like join the Discord channel and do what we're doing tonight and catching up with some of our patrons who are here at the Leeds Test match here at Headingley. Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City. Great to have them on board. More extra, less ordinary. That's it. We're done. A test match with 3 days to go with all the possibilities in the world. Good night.
See you on day 3.